Hey YouTubers, today I'm doing a little bushcraft type of video. Just like many of the Native American tribes across North America had to rely on their environment and how their cultures developed depending on what type of food and resources they had. And if you've watched a lot of my hikes, you probably noticed there's lots of saw palmettos. Wherever I hike in Florida and parts of the deep south, there's lots and lots of saw palmetto, and it's in my opinion, it's a lifesaver type of plant because you can get almost anything from it. I'll show you. You've seen these a lot in my hikes and stuff like this. I'm going to show you a lot of uses for this. One that I'm not going to show you because I can't find a small one is the really small ones. You could actually take out a piece of the tender palm fronds on it if they're fresh, and you can actually nibble a little bit on the bottom. It has to be a fresh, young shoot, and you can actually nibble on that. And I don't know how much nutrients are in it, but also the berries from this supposedly are used. Health stores sell the berries, I think, to help with prostate problems and stuff like that. So it's an amazing plant. And I'm going to show you some of the uses that I've used it, and some of my fellow hiking buddies, the Swamp Camper and Campfire Steve, have used it. So I'll show you a couple of cool uses for the saw palmetto, which is readily available. And no matter where you are, there's always some sort of plant. If you're in the desert, just some sort of plant you can use that's readily available. If you're in the Arctic environment or a wet Pacific Northwest environment, there's always some sort of plant you can rely on. And I think for here in Florida, the saw palmetto is the go-to plant for survival and bushcraft. Here's one of my favorite uses for the saw palmetto, and I got this from the Swamp Camper. Not only, when he collects firewood, he brings this, he finds a big branch and uses it as a sled to collect firewood instead of trying to carry it all in your hands. And you can get quite a bit doing this. And he's also done it when we've had to build a campsite with finding boulders and stones and stuff like that. So it's a great sled to use to collect firewood, stones to build a campfire. So that's one cool use of it. Okay, some other good uses. The main use that I always use it for is there's nothing better to start a fire than with the old, dried saw palmetto. This stuff is like gasoline. It's a go-to fire starter. This is always the base of any campfire I start. It's good stuff. Very flammable. You could also, because it's very easy to work with, when it dries out, you can make things out of it. And a lot easier than using wood because it's easier to carve. Here I just made an emergency tent stake in case I needed it. But you can make all kinds of cool tools out of these in an emergency. And then also, the fresh stalks can be used to cook things over. We use this, we wrap some bannock around it, cooked it over the fire, just like you would want to use like a when you cook with bamboo skewers, you want to wet them so that they don't burn in the fire. Something like this isn't going to burn up in the fire, and you can cook whatever you want with it too. We haven't had a lot of success with bannock, but that's another story. If you ever go to Campfire Steve, you can find out the misadventures of cooking bannock using one of these. In an emergency, you can use it as a weapon or even a walking stick. If you use the gasifier stoves, these are really easy to cut up and chop up and make some fuel for your gasifier stove. It'll burn up a lot faster than using some of the other twigs, but still, they're a good addition to that. So there's all kinds of things that you can use the saw palmetto for. It really is a survival tool. And then also, where did I put it? For housing. If you put these, you could build a temporary housing here, and if you put the leaves coming down here, all the rain is just going to wash right off of that and keep you dry. So you can build a bushcraft emergency shelter if you needed to as well. It is an amazing plant. And also, because we have really big mosquitoes and horse flies and deer flies, you got to have a massive fly swatter too.